Picture this. You're walking down a bustling neon-lit street in Japan.
Oh, yeah, the classic scene.
Right. The air is thick with the smell of street food, the sound of traffic. Maybe there's a giant video billboard playing right above you.
Right, yeah, sensory overload.
Exactly. But then you turn a single corner, and, well, the city just falls away.
Such a crazy contrast.
It really is. You step into this tranquil, ancient space, surrounded by these towering, centuries-old trees. I mean, the air literally feels cooler.
Oh, absolutely.
And as you stand there taking it all in, a question kind of pops into your head. What exactly am I looking at right now?
Like, what is this place?
Right, is this an otera, like a temple? Or is it a jinja, a shrine?
And honestly, if you don't know the difference, you're definitely not alone.
No, not at all. Most visitors just kind of lump it all into one overarching category of, traditional Japanese architecture.
Yeah, they see a wooden building and a curved roof and just think, okay, religious site.
Exactly. But looking at the stack of sources we have for today's deep dive, we've got religious guides, funeral service explainers, even a blog written by a local shrine priest. There's actually this fascinating cultural decoder ring hiding in plain sight.
There really is. It's all right there if you know what to look for.
So our mission today is simple. Even if you have never set foot in Japan, by the end of this conversation, you will know exactly how to identify these spaces from the street.
You'll know what they're built for.
Yep, and exactly how you're supposed to act when you visit.
So to truly decode the physical buildings, we kind of have to look at the invisible forces that built them first.
The two religions.
Right. Temples and shrines are the physical manifestations of two completely distinct belief systems that just happen to share the same geography.
So let's start with shrines, the jinja.
Yeah, so this is the home of Shinto, which is Japan's indigenous belief system. We're talking roots that stretch all the way back to the Jomon period.
That's the deep prehistoric hunter-gatherer era. Right.
Exactly, like thousands of years before the Common Era. And because it's so ancient, Shinto lacks almost all the traditional hallmarks of what we'd call a formalized religion.
Like a central figure.
Yeah, there is no founder, there's no prophet who went to a mountaintop and received a vision.
And reading the sources, there's no written scriptures or holy books dictating some strict moral code either.
Yo, none of that.
It mentioned that it's referred to as a way. I think that's what the Toin Shinto means, rather than a teaching.
Right. You don't sit down in a classroom and study Shinto doctrine. It's just, well, it's a way you exist within the natural world.
And the core of that existence, it relies on this concept called Yayurozu no Kami.
Yes.
Yeah.
That translates to the 8 million gods. But 8 million shouldn't be taken as like a literal head count.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In ancient times, it was basically just an expression of infinity.
Got it. Like saying there's an infinite number of gods out there.
Exactly. It means that divine spirits, or kami, dwell in literally all things in nature. The mountains, the rivers, the wind.
Ancient trees.
Ancient trees, absolutely. Even uniquely shaped rocks. Nature itself isn't just a backdrop for human life. It is sacred and alive.
So if Shinto is this all-encompassing, super ancient system that covers literally everything in the natural environment, why did Japan feel the need to bring in a second religion?
That's a great question.
Like, what gap was Buddhism filling when it showed up?
Well, Shinto was really focused on the immediate, tangible world. It dealt with nature's blessings and its destructive forces.
Stuff you needed to appease right now.
Right, to survive a bad harvest or a crazy storm. But Buddhism provided an answer to the larger existential questions of the human condition.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah. So Buddhism was founded by the Buddha in India around the 6th or 5th century BC, and it made its way to Japan via China and the Korean peninsula centuries later.
Okay.
And it brought a highly structured, systematic approach to spiritual liberation.
It brought the receipts, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it has the founder, these extensive scriptures, strict rules for the monks, the texts emphasize concepts like karma, the law of cause and effect.
And the ultimate goal of escaping that endless cycle of suffering and reincarnation, right, to achieve enlightenment.
So it's a formalized path with a definitive end goal.
Exactly.
Reading through this, I kind of came up with an analogy.
Yeah.
If we look at the spiritual landscape of Japan, Shinto is basically like an open source operating system.
I like that.
Right. It's been there for the beginning. It's inherently tied to the local hardware, the actual mountains and trees of Japan.
And it just runs quietly in the background without a strict user manual.
Yes. While Buddhism is like this complex app that was downloaded from abroad, it has very specific functions, a clear user interface, and a definite end goal.
That is a perfect way to look at it. And because that downloaded app comes with a strict user manual, the architecture it generated reflects that rigid structure.
It looks different.
Totally. The open source OS of Shinto, needing to integrate directly with the raw hardware of nature, produced entirely different physical spaces.
And Japan runs both of these systems simultaneously.
They coexist, but they operate on totally different spiritual frequencies. And we can see this divergence starting right at the entrance of these spaces.
Okay, so let's get into the visual decoder. If you're standing on the street looking at a sacred space, the gate is your first major clue.
It's the easiest giveaway.
Right, so a torii gate means you are standing in front of a Shinto shrine.
Yeah, these are those iconic structures, 2 vertical pillars and 1 or 2 crossbars across the top.
Usually painted that super vibrant vermilion red, right?
Yeah.
Made of wood or stone.
Exactly. But the torii gate isn't just decorative. It serves a profound spiritual purpose.
Oh.
Yeah, because Shinto gods reside in the raw elements of nature, the torii acts as a literal boundary line. It separates the secular, everyday world of the street from the sacred space of the kami.
So crossing under it is the moment you step into the divine realm.
Precisely.
Okay, so then what are we looking for to identify a Buddhist temple entrance?
Temples have what's called a sanmon gate. And unlike the open, minimalist structure of a torii, a sanmon is usually this grand, heavy, formidable piece of architecture.
The pictures in the guides make them look like small, multi-story buildings themselves.
Yeah, they really do. They feature these massive, intricate roofs and sturdy wooden pillars. It feels much more grounded and institutional.
Which perfectly reflects the structured nature of those imported teachings you mentioned.
Exactly. Now, passing through these gates, you're usually going to meet the security guards of the site.
Right, the bouncers.
Yeah.
At a shrine, the path is flanked by the kamainu.
Guardian dogs.
Yeah, or sometimes they look a bit like lions.
Yeah, lion dogs is a good way to describe them. They're fiercely protecting the sacred nature space from evil spirits.
But at a temple, guarding the heavy Sanmon gate, the security detail takes the form of the Neo.
Oh, the Neo. They are intense.
I mean, they are muscular, towering, humanoid statues. They look incredibly intimidating.
They usually have weapons, veins bulging from their arms and necks.
Wait, okay. There seems to be a massive contradiction here, though.
Huh.
Buddhism is globally famous for being a religion of peace, compassion, nonviolence.
Right.
So why do Buddhist temples have these incredibly violent, weapon-wielding, vein-bulging bouncers at the front door?
It's a fair question. The Neo actually represent the use of justifiable force to defend Buddhist values and protect the faithful from ignorance and evil.
Oh, so it's not aggression.
No, they aren't symbols of aggression at all. They're manifestations of the fierce determination you need to walk the path's enlightenment.
And to keep the sacred teachings safe from corruption.
Exactly. And there is a fascinating philosophical detail hidden in plain sight on both the near temple guards and the kamainu shrine dogs.
The mouth shapes.
Yes. If you look closely at their faces, one statue in the pair always has its mouth wide open, forming an A sound.
Right.
And the other statue always has its mouth tightly closed, forming an un sound.
The A unpairing. I saw this in the sources. They trace this all the way back to Sanskrit, right?
Mm-hmm.
A is the first letter, un is the last. It represents the beginning and the end of all things.
The alpha and the omega of the universe, basically.
That is so cool. Okay, so moving past the guards, we approach the main central building.
Let's look at the temple first. The main hall there is called the Hondo.
And inside the Hondo, you will visibly see a statue of the Buddha,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or a specific bodhisattva.
Yeah, a bodhisattva is essentially an enlightened being who delayed their own entry into paradise to stay back and help guide the rest of humanity.
And the statue is front and center. It's this visual representation designed to inspire the visitor.
It offers a tangible focal point for reference. Going back to your analogy, the app requires a visible user interface to interact with.
Exactly. Okay, but at a Shinto shrine, the main hall is called the Honden. And inside the Honden is the Goshintai.
Which translates to the sacred body of the kami.
It's the actual physical object that the nature god temporarily inhabits. Might be a mirror, a sword, or a jewel.
But the twist is you can't see it.
Right. It is intentionally hidden from human eyes behind closed doors.
It's considered far too sacred and powerful for ordinary people to look at. Shinto gods are the raw, unfiltered forces of nature.
Like you don't just stare directly into the sun.
Exactly.
But wait, if I'm a believer going to a shrine and I'm bowing to a closed door that I'm not allowed to look behind, doesn't that feel a bit, I don't know, isolating?
How do you mean?
Well, how do you feel connected to a deity that is completely concealed from you?
Ah, that is the crucial difference between the two systems. As a regular visitor to a shrine, you never actually approach the Honden where that hidden object is kept.
Oh, really?
Right. You stop at the Hayden, which is a dedicated worship hall situated safely in front of the Honden.
So there's a buffer zone.
Yeah. You are praying toward the hidden presence, but you're feeling the atmosphere of the surrounding ancient trees and the crisp air.
Ah,
The connection comes from acknowledging a vast invisible power in the environment itself.
rather than looking into the face of a compassionate teacher like you do at a temple.
Exactly.
That architectural setup really dictates how Japanese society actually uses these spaces today. The sources outline this really clear division of labor.
Yeah, people in Japan don't typically choose one religion over the other like we might in the West.
They utilize both, just for completely different phases of human existence.
Right. Shrines are for the milestones of life. They are focused on present-day celebrations and earthly happiness.
Like when the new year rolls around,
Mhm.
millions of people flock to shrines for Hatsumode, the first visit of the year, to pray for good fortune.
And when a baby is born, parents take them to the shrine for blessings of safe growth.
Oh, and the sources mention the 753 festival.
Yeah, when children turn 3, 5, and 7, they dress up in traditional clothes and go to the shrine.
And if you're starting a business or hoping to find a romantic partner, you go to a shrine. It is relentlessly focused on the here and now.
But temples, on the other hand, handle the heavier, inevitable aspects of human existence.
When someone passes away, the funeral is almost exclusively conducted through a Buddhist temple.
And the psychology behind this division is really fascinating. The sources specifically note that in Shinto, death is considered an ultimate impurity, known as kigare.
But isn't like sin in the Western sense, right?
No, not at all. It's better understood as stagnation, or the opposite of vital life force.
Okay.
Because Shinto is utterly obsessed with the literal life-giving power of nature, the blooming of crops. The flow of water death represents a cessation of that energy.
So it's incompatible with the vibrant space of a shrine.
Exactly. But Buddhism, with its deep philosophical framework surrounding the cycle of suffering, karma, and the afterlife, it's perfectly equipped to guide people through the mourning process.
Which explains Obon. During Obon in the summer, when the spirits of ancestors are believed to return, families go to the temples to tend to their family graves.
Yeah. And on New Year's Eve, right before heading to the bright celebrations at the shrine, people gather at the temple to hear the Joya no Cane.
That's the temple bell, right?
Right. It's rung 108 times to strike away the 108 worldly desires of the past year.
So one handles the joy of living, the other processes the reality of mortality.
It's a really pragmatic balance when you think about it.
But wait, if shrines are strictly for present-day life and temples are for the afterlife and self-improvement, does that mean I can't wish for something mundane like passing a college entrance exam if I happen to be visiting a Buddhist temple?
Well, modern temples do accommodate the general public's desire to make present-day wishes. You will definitely see students praying for good grades at temples.
Oh, okay.
But the local priests note that the original Buddhist intent of that action is completely different from the Shinto intent.
How so?
At a shrine, you are literally asking a nature deity for a favor. You're requesting divine intervention.
Right.
At a Buddhist temple, the true intent of standing before the Buddha is to make an internal oath to improve yourself.
So you aren't asking the Buddha to magically give you an A on the test.
No, you are vowing to the Buddha that you will study as hard as humanly possible. You're using the space for self-reflection.
That is a massive difference.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the etiquette. How you physically participate in these spaces so you look like you understand the underlying philosophy rather than just imitating hand gestures.
Yeah. Let's start with the approach.
So at a shrine, when you walk down the path after crossing the torii gate, you should never walk exactly in the center.
The center of the path is called the seichu, and it is the runway reserved specifically for the invisible kami.
So walking slightly to the left or right is a physical acknowledgement of their presence.
Right. And at both temples and shrines, before you approach the main hall, you'll find a small water pavilion called a chozuya.
This is for purification. There's a really specific order of operations here.
Yeah, you start by washing the left hand, then the right hand, then rinsing the mouth with water cupped in the left hand, and finally washing the handle of the ladle.
And a lot of tourist guides treat this like a strict mechanical chore. But looking at the sources, the philosophy of the Chozuya connects right back to that concept of kigare impurity.
You aren't just washing off physical dirt.
No, You're symbolically washing away the secular grime, the stress, the stagnant energy of the modern street before you step into the raw presence of nature.
It forces you to pause and become completely present.
Exactly. Okay, so once purified, you approach the main hall, and the physical actions of worship diverge dramatically here.
Yeah, they really do. At a shrine, you stand before the Hayden, you bow twice, you clap your hands twice, you say your prayer, and you bow one final time.
And before the clapping, you usually grasp a thick rope and ring a massive bell hanging from the ceiling.
That's right. But why all the loud ringing and the clapping? I thought we were in a tranquil nature space.
Well, the loud sound of the bell and the sharp crack of the clapping serve to ward off stagnant energy, but primarily they're used to wake up the nature spirits.
Yeah, you are signaling to the raw environment, hey, I have arrived, my mind is clear, please observe me.
And the sources offer this really profound detail for the clapping. When you bring your hands together, you slide your right hand slightly lower than your left hand.
Right, because in traditional Japanese thought, the left side is associated with the divine and the right side with the human.
So pulling the right hand back is a physical manifestation of human humility before the vastness of nature.
It's those little details that really show the depth of the practice.
Okay, so then you walk down the street to the Buddhist temple, you approach the main hall, and the etiquette here flips completely.
Completely. You do not clap at a temple.
You silently put your hands together in front of your chest in a gesture called gasso.
You bow, you silently make your internal vow, and you bow again.
And instead of a loud bell, you will likely find a large incense burner.
Yeah, you waft the smoke over your body to purify yourself, approaching the Buddha in quiet reverence.
So it's noise to wake the raw nature gods, and silence to reflect on the teachings of the Buddha.
Exactly. And this physical difference even extends to the souvenirs you can collect.
Oh, the gosh.
The beautiful stamp books that monks or priests will hand calligraph to prove you visited a specific site.
Keppel stamps are incredibly intricate. They usually feature ancient Sanskrit characters echoing those Indian roots we talked about.
Yeah, they're usually accompanied by 3 separate red stamps and sweeping, dramatic calligraphy of the main deity's name.
But shrine stamps are markedly simpler.
They usually just feature the name of the shrine and the date in clean, bold calligraphy, perhaps with a single, unadorned stamp.
It perfectly captures the essence of the two systems, doesn't it? The intricate complexity of the imported, heavily structured teachings versus the simple, unadorned elegance of the indigenous natural way.
It really does.
Okay, let's lock in the decoder ring for everyone.
Let's do it.
If you see a vibrant torii gate in guardian dogs, you are at a Shinto shrine. You are dealing with ancient nature gods, you walk on the side of the path, and you clap your hands to make noise and announce your presence.
And if you see a grand, heavy wooden sanmon gate flanked by muscular, vein-bulging statues, you are at a Buddhist temple.
You're dealing with enlightenment, internal vows, and the afterlife. And you stand in absolute focused silence.
Perfect summary. But you know, we have spent this entire deep dive putting shrines and temples into 2 neat, distinct boxes.
Open source nature versus downloaded structure.
Life versus death. Noise versus silence. But if you look at the history, Japan didn't actually play by these clean rules for over 1,000 years.
Oh, you mean the Shinbutsu Shugo era?
Exactly. The syncretism of Shinto and Buddhism. For centuries, these 2 religions were entirely mixed together in a massive spiritual blender.
People believed the Shinto nature gods were simply local, physical manifestations of the universal Buddhist deities.
Right. You would find Shinto shrines built right inside Buddhist temple courtyards.
And you would see Buddhist monks chanting sutras in front of hidden Shinto kami.
It wasn't until the Meiji era in the late 1800s that the government issued a strict decree forcing the 2 belief systems to separate into the distinct, codified institutions we see today.
The government wanted a unified, indigenous state religion, so they forcibly untangled the architecture and the practices.
They literally pulled them apart.
Which kind of makes you wonder. I mean, the rules are clear now, especially in the major cities and the famous tourist sites. But Japan is an ancient, deeply layered place.
Very true.
If you turn down the right neon-lit street, wander away from the guidebooks, and find a quiet, unrenovated space tucked away in a mountain forest.
Might you still find an ancient torii gate standing defiantly inside a Buddhist temple courtyard?
Exactly.
Okay.
A forgotten place where the silent reflection of the Buddha is still perfectly blended with the loud, ringing clap for the gods.
It's definitely possible.
Keep your eyes open out there. You never know what layers of history are waiting quietly under the trees.